The Ordo Sinister, known formally as the Titanicus Tyrannic Ordo Sinister, is an elite Titan legion of the Collegia Titanicas highly secret Divisio Telepathica that employs special psychic weapons and tactics. The Ordo Sinister is known by the informal cognomens the Left Hand of the Emperor and the Nightmare Titans, and is considered one of the most covert and macabre of all the Imperium's agencies of war and political control. During the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy eras, this Titan Legion was known to employ weapons of such hidden terror and secrecy, such as the Warlord Sinister class Psi-Titan, that few, even within the Imperium's hierarchy, suspected their existence. The forces of the Great Crusade were myriad in nature, and as the Remembrancers were wont to style them, as numberless as the stars themselves. This is only befitting, as the task for which the vast host of the Imperialis Militarum was conceived and embodied was for no less than the staggeringly incomprehensible goal of the domination of the entire galaxy. This required weapons and warriors as diverse as uncounted pioneer corps of indentured laborers, hundreds of thousands strong, to the superhuman might of the Legiones Astartes, a purpose-created, gene-crafted transhuman fighting force greater than any in history. The will and reason of the Emperor divined and designed for the Great Crusade, in effect a weapon and a warrior for every conceivable form of war, and even those inconceivable until they had to be fought. Unhallowed wars against powers and horrors beyond human imagining and beyond merely human endurance. One such dark creation, an experiment perhaps in weaponry long forbidden, and carried out not by any Mechanicum Archimandrite nor Strategos Magister, but by the hand of the Emperor himself, led to the creation of the Ordo Sinister. The exact genesis of the experiments which led to the creation of the Ordo Sinister is difficult to pin down by scholarly observers in later ages. As with almost all that began in the prohibited vaults of the Emperor's own laboratory complex beneath the Imperial Palace on Terra, its nature remains sealed by time and by the destruction that was to follow. Such records that do remain within the Martian Mechanicus, however, who, given the nature of the Ordo Sinister's origins, were seriously perturbed by the project, or more accurately their exclusion from it, do evidence certain speculations. The ancient Mechanicum believed that the project was created either as a tangent of what was to become the Emperor's great project to control and manipulate the psyker factor in human evolution, or as a direct attempt to develop esoteric weaponry on the macro scale to combat certain encountered menaces which had proven terrible in the cost of their destruction. These menaces, such as Enslaver Alpha incursions, the Rangdan Ossivores, and the Hellespont Void forms, all of which had taken the lives of millions of Imperial soldiers and thousands of star vessels to combat, and had broken whole expeditionary fleets and Titan legions in the past, were menaces to which no sure counter existed save that of exterminatus. The purpose of what became the Ordo Sinister was the battlefield employment of macro-level weaponry of terrible potency, and of a nature which was expressly forbidden to any within the Imperium, be they Primarch or planetary governor, on pain of death. These were weapons born of the science of the Dark Age of technology, and perhaps ancient relics of alien civilizations which had risen and fallen before life had even begun on primeval Terra. These were weapons forbidden to all but those under the Emperor's direct shadow and control, and even then only under the greatest possible conditions of secrecy and failsafe. The Ordo Sinister was the cadre set up to build, maintain, and use these weapons, classed as their name suggests as Sinistrum. This word has long stood as the Terran Tech Arcana classification for prohibited technologies designed to artificially amplify or weaponize the Psyker's gift, usually at the cost of the Psyker himself, body or mind. Examples of Sinistrum technology, such as the Kulexine shackles, used by the narco-enslaved Psyker covens of the Caucasus Wastes, subjugated by the Emperor during the Unification Wars, had long since been bywords for the true evils of the Dark Age of technology. It is not known just how long the Ordo Sinister had existed in the Emperor's shadow, but their first prominence came in 967. M30, when a writ of compulsion was issued by the Emperor, requiring the deliverance of a grand total of 25 fully operational battle titans of the Warlord class to the Vault Imperialis in perpetuity. This extraordinary request caused a strong reaction in the ancient Mechanicum's hierarchy, splitting it between those who fervently considered the Emperor to be the living incarnation of the Omnitia, and therefore immediately entitled to any of his servants' works, and those who saw with a more political eye, deeming the demand to be a violation of the spirit, if not the letter of the Treaty of Mars, which bound the Mechanicum to the Imperium and guaranteed its rights. To this latter group, the specter of potential Titan legions being formed without the sacred imprint of the Mechanicum at their inception or control was the start of the end of Mars's independence. Schism threatened, but after an audience between the Fabricator General Kelbor Hal and the Emperor, the colossal demand was met, and any further open malcontent within the machine cult's ranks over the issue was suppressed, though what ill feeling remained in secret can only be speculated upon in light of later events. Mars herself bore the brunt of the burden, delivering 8 warlords from her reserve, while new production and requisitions from the forge worlds of Metallica, Farron, Arachnus, Caradrin Magna, and Voss made up the rest. The transfer was viewed as a crime by some and a blessing by others, but of this event, or the oblation, as the followers of the machine cult named it, nothing would come to pass for several standard years. The requisitioned god engines were swallowed up as if without trace on Terra despite their scale and power. 25 of the most powerful war machines ever fashioned by humanity simply vanished. Skagen Sisk was a largely unremarkable human-occupied world upon the southern border of the Segmentum Solar, rendered compliant in 860. M30 by the IV Legion in a relatively bloodless action, it had grown rapidly in population, seeing waves of migration brought in from overcrowded worlds closer to the Segmentum Solar core, as well as the rapid increase in Hive City-style urbanization and industrialization which followed. The result for Skagen Sixt was political instability, simmering insurrection, and the threat of full-scale civil war by the year 946. M30, when the local Lord Arbitrator requested aid from the sector overlords, saying that the world had become a factionalized powder keg ready to ignite. The response to the Lord Arbitrator when it came was an unexpected one, a flotilla of vessels sent from Terra itself, comprised of a single unmarked Titan conveyor, flanked by an escort of Saturnine Fleet solar auxilia cruisers, and, most shocking of all, an auger frigate in the scarlet and gold panoply of the Imperial Household Squadron. A single lander crucible deployed from the unnamed Titan conveyor and descended to the starport of Dekra Breaks near the capital city plate of Skagen's Sisk. Its cargo upon dismounting was to be a single warlord Titan liveried in deep green-black verdigris and bearing a snarling lion head in cold argent as its sigil. Upon its armorial was featured no symbol or sign recognizable as belonging to any Titan legion of the Imperium. Instead, it bore the words Ordo Sinister, Pavore Dominatur, and what was judged to be the Titan's blazoned name, Polaris Albedalach. Within only solar days, such a strange-sounding title was replaced with one far more appropriate in the whispers of the natives of Skagen Sixt. They called it the King of Terrors, after the Psyker Tarot card of the same name. For where the God Engine walked, fear walked with it. Of course, such towering colossi of destruction rightly engender fear in those who look upon them. Such is their inherent quality of awe and warlike splendor that even the most jaded soldier cannot but quake when in the presence of such a terrifying machine of destruction or while contemplating what it is capable of. But the fear this monstrous newcomer inspired was something else. Fear bled from it like a miasma, flowing out to chill the bone and still the heart. Crowds fled from it in unreasoning panic, while others could do nothing but fall prostrate in abject terror as the Titan passed through the city's great arterial travelways, never firing its hulking weapons nor sounding its war siren in anger. Where it walked, the world was stilled, and where its shadow passed upon the horizon, the sleep of the just and the guilty alike was racked equally with cold dreams of death and oblivion. Would-be revolutionaries were silenced, insurrectionists abandoned their arms and dispersed to outlying districts, their causes and grievances ashes upon their tongues. The King of Terrors brought Skagen's Six to heel without firing a shot. The second time the Ordo Sinister would take to the field would be a far bloodier and more terrible affair as part of a protracted series of battles that has since come to be known as the Defense of Helioret. The Helioret sector had, since the opening years of the 960 SM-30, been under escalating attack from Eldari Corsairs and Marauder forces based upon a half-shattered Asuryani craft world known as Mag Sithral. These Eldari were, by any example of their species, who had been encountered insane, tortured creatures still reeling from the fall of their ancient power, driven by grief and suicidal with bitter hate for all other intelligent species of the galaxy. They had fallen upon the worlds of the Helioret sector with merciless violence, burning planet after planet, unleashing strange synthetic plagues that fused flesh into bloodied crystal and fractured moons and orbital void stations to tumble down upon worlds below. The Imperium's response to the onslaught soon escalated until scores of regiments of the Imperialis Auxilia had been mobilized against it. With them, Mechanicum Tagmata forces from Anvilus and Incaladion, supported by a demi-legion of the Tiger-Eyes Titans who contested bitterly to hold the line against the splinter-boned Phantom Titans of the Mag Sithral Aldari at Luxor and Ratep. Utter loss of those key worlds was only averted when a full third of the strength of the Blood Angels Legion took to the fray with their Primarch Sanguinius at the fore. Not even this apocalyptic force could win outright victory, though, but instead it saw the Aldari forced back to a defensive ring around their sundered and debris-trailing craft world. It was as the angelic Primarch girded his forces for an all-out attack against the Mag Sithral craft world that he was unexpectedly joined by a squadron bearing the seal and writ of Terra and the Imperial household. With it were a dozen black ships carrying within them cohorts of the Silent Sisterhood, and with them a trio of unmarked Titan conveyors with the warlords of the Ordo Sinister within their holds. The battle which followed was shocking in its intensity, with the barbed, swift hulls of the Aldari warships set burning across the void as they fought both the steel-gray warbarks of Anvilus as well as the proud, white-hulled battleships of the Armada Ultima. As the void battle raged, the sleek black ships and the crimson predators of the Blood Angels fleet dove straight onto their quarry. Crashing through the decaying spires and force-domed atmosphere of the desolate craft world, the invaders were met by Mag Sithral's army of the dead. Thousands of Wraith War constructs ranging from swift-footed assassins to towering warriors and Titan walkers, all powered and animated by the vengeful souls of that haunted realm. Reality rippled and shuddered as the Eldari distortion weaponry rent the air, tearing crimson gunships from the skies, while below, ancient colonnades and towers that had stood for centuries toppled, hammered by remorseless shellfire. And as missiles rained down in detonating waves, the landing was forced. A score of Eldari Titans rose up from the depths of their ancient vaults, and at the head of them was a Warlock Titan, filled with the souls of Mag Sithral's fallen seers and prophets. The Imperium had encountered it before and named it the Witch Idol, and where it had walked, no Imperial victory had yet been won. Against this massing of force, the Imperial assault first faltered and was checked, as even the Titans of the Legio Furians landing with the second wave were swiftly torn apart by the Witch Idol and its kinsmen, though it is said that Sanguinius destroyed one of their number himself, tearing open its head with his bare hands and sending it crashing to destruction before being struck a grievous blow by the Warlock's Psi-Lance, from which none other would have survived. It was then that the three Titans of the Ordo Sinister made their landing, and at their footfalls, the very fabric of the craft world was said to have shuddered as if in revulsion. From their carapace weapons poured volleys of rocket fire and searing turbo-laser blasts, as might have been expected from any battle Titan, while their right hands were vast Ariok power claws which twitched in expectation of the close-quarters kill. But from the baroque and strange weapons that served as their left arms, there spat a silent darkness. These bolts of black nothingness slammed through the ranks of the Wraith constructs, devouring everything they touched. While in the aftershock of their detonation, scores more Wraith-kind simply fell like severed marionettes, never again to stir. Howling a great chorus of grief and outrage, the Aldari Titans rounded on the newly arrived giants and let fly, pulse lasers cutting the sky apart between the two, while the witch idol conjured forth a tempest of eldritch warp lightning, its coruscating wave of destruction suddenly met by an ice-white blaze of force emanating from the god engines of the Ordo Sinister, and shattered. The backlash of the forces negating each other shook the craft world like an earthquake, tumbling Space Marine and Wraithguard alike to the ground like toys. Imperial force had been met with Imperial force, and it was clear to every spectator to this clash of colossi how the god engines of the Ordo Sinister were Psi-Titans. The conflict that followed was a true battle of the gods, and the recovering Primarch Sanguinius had wisdom enough to withdraw the warriors of the Legion to give the Titans a wide berth for what was to ultimately follow. For 3 solar hours, the Psi-Titans fought, unleashing destructive forces on a scale enough to break a dozen cities. Pulse laser slashed meter-thick ceramite warlord armor, only to have it melt and reform whole in the wake of the destruction. Though not even such occult protections could hold back the lethal strike of a gigantic Aldari power blade plunged deep into the reactor-fueled heart of one of the Ordo Sinister's number. Ghost-like hollow fields flickered and shuddered as the Aldari Titans danced the dance of death with impossible grace, and fusillades of screaming rockets found only empty air. But not even such mastery of speed and confusion could stop the ravaging darkness of the Warlord Sinister's baleful primary weapons. Slowly but surely, for the Aldari Titans, 4 became 3, became 2, became only the wounded witch idol beset still by 2 of the Ordo Sinister's warlords, although both were damaged. Its lance shattered by a blast of ravening emptiness, it sang its defiance across the Empyrean, but was answered by prisoning hurricanes of psychic force against which its superior maneuverability became nothing more than the struggle of a battered scarecrow caught in a storm. One of the Warlord Sinisters then seized the witch idol's broken shoulder, holding it captive while its dark companion tore off the Warlock Titan's head. With the witch idol's destruction, it was as if the soul of Mag Cithral had died as well. Lights flickered and died across the ruined craft world, systems failed, and the end began. The last remnants of the Aldari, who had not already fled their dying home, came on in a suicidal frenzy, but found only the fury of the Blood Angels Legion and the cool savagery of the Sisters of Silence waiting for them. The Psi-Titans of the Ordo Sinister did not wait. Instead, they bore up the remains of their fallen comrade and without further communication departed the battlefield. The last of the slaughter was not long in coming, and the final act of the defense of Helioret was for the wreckage of the broken craft world to be hurled into a nearby sun to die its final death. The Ordo Sinister continues to function as an elite, special-purpose Titan Legion, comprised of an unknown number of battle titans under the command of the renowned Grandmaster Ferromort. The purpose of the Ordo Sinister is simple: to inspire terror and obedience in those who are in danger of disrupting the Pax Imperium, to lend the weight of steel to the words of the Mechanicus's ruling magi. In this respect, the Ordo often works in conjunction with the Adeptus Arbites, the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy, providing transport and fire support for their ground troops in innumerable short, vicious campaigns. The carefully planned assaults of Grandmaster Faramore are famous for their precision and flawless execution. Great pains are taken to use the Titan Legion as an example of impersonal and faceless imperial efficiency. In persuading truculent planetary governors to submit to the imperial will, the Ordo Sinister has destroyed hundreds of supposedly impregnable fortresses and allegedly unassailable palaces. However, this Titan Legion remains an instrument of precision for the Imperium, a well-honed saber rather than the sledgehammer of an Imperial Navy planetary bombardment or the scalpel of a Space Marine intervention. The account of the Ordo Sinister's involvement in the defense of Helioret, contained within the battle chronicles of the Blood Angels, remains the most detailed and certain account of the secretive Titan Order in battle. There are perhaps a dozen other such incidents of less certain variety or of little detail elsewhere, but each also features the account of some vastly potent enemy to be contested, usually possessing great psychic power, or conversely, as with Skagen Sisksk, a fractious world brought back to peace through almost preternatural terror. The most important perhaps of these is the passage of 3 Titans of the Ordo Sinister within the Imperial host dispatched to censure Prospero, a fact which appears was kept even from Leman Russ until well after the fighting had already begun. What does seem certain, however, from all these accounts was that very few Titans were ever fielded at once by the Ordo Sinister, and when they appeared, it was often without the foreknowledge of any of the forces on whose side they intervened. The Ordo was never dispatched to the frontiers of the Great Crusade, and never left Terra for any length of time that can be discerned. Nor, unless by some far more secret means, does it appear that any more Titans were added to their number. To many Imperial savants, this has led to the belief that the Ordo Sinister, all through the latter days of the Great Crusade, was an experimental field trial, an unfinished project still in its testing stage when the wars of the Horus Heresy upset many destinies and intended courses of action. Tellingly, even before his treacherous fall from grace, never once was the Ordo Sinister placed at the disposal of the War Master Horus or any other independent Imperial commander, but it always remained in the shadow of the Emperor's authority. When the Horus Heresy came, a representative of the Ordo Sinister did present himself to the Council of Terra when requested and answered various questions of the force's structure and command during the period of the Emperor's self-sequestrage, a meeting from which some of the details of this account are drawn. But citing express orders from the Master of Mankind, the Titan Order was then not included in the general preparations for the wars of the heresy that came afterwards. Instead, they waited, as part of Terra's last line of defense, until almost the end, or at least such is the official record. By their own words, the Ordo Sinister was to remain on Terra until called upon by the Emperor himself, and thus few records speak of their conflicts across the galaxy, both during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy that followed. Claims of their inactivity are to be taken with some skepticism, for reports speak of unsettling Titans walking upon battlefields across the galaxy during the Horus Heresy, silent god engines striking against the servants of the War Master. The strength of the Ordo Sinister also stands in doubt, for scattered tales speak of Titans forged in all manner of designs unleashing powers far beyond mortal ken. In information given to the Council of Terra before the heresy by the Ordo Sinister's representative, an officer of the Ordo named Prefect Kellner Anahat, it was confirmed with authenticated patents that the organization of the Ordo Sinister was arranged and provisioned entirely to an exacting framework laid out by the writ and dictate of the Emperor, from which it could not deviate nor innovate upon pain of destruction. It comprised 4 allied but self-contained fortress crypts, each with their own defenses, support staff, menials, and techno-arcanists, all in support of a chamber, each comprising 5 specially modified Warlord Titans. These god engines, properly classified as Tyrannic Pattern Warlord Sinister Psi-Titans, were each rebuilt around an Emperor-designed psychic amplification matrix device called the Siracrux Anima. The Warlord Sinister Psi-Titan is ultimately a thing that should not be, a fusion of one of the mightiest god engines with the weaponized power of numerous bound alpha-grade psychers and crewed by a soulless untouchable. A Warlord Sinister was constructed with methods only the Emperor himself could permit. For a Warlord Sinister, fear is its constant companion, bleeding those around it of hope and joy with its very presence. In place of the standard Titan configuration of mind impulse units, it was this which controlled and empowered the Warlord Sinister, and in place of the Moderati that would normally crew a battle Titan, the Psi-Titans were instead crewed by what might be considered the damned, bound psychers surgically locked in place and cybernetically slaved to the will of the preceptor intendant, who mastered the god engine in place of a princeps. By direct cortical control, the psychic powers and life forces of the bound psychers were siphoned off and focused by the arcane technologies of the Siracrux Anima, the baleful device that truly makes the Psi-Titan what it is. This energy was controlled by a techno-arcane interface, quite unlike that of a standard configuration mind impulse unit, while much of the Psi-Titan's other functions were slave to sub-automata systems and machine spirit homunculi, artificial intelligence routines. Set at the heart of the storm of these energies, the preceptor intendant sat in a shielded command crucible in the Titan's head. But even this was insufficient to entirely protect them from the psychic forces at play, and so each Titan commander of the Ordo Sinister was a psychic blank and untouchable. But each preceptor intendant was selected on entirely different criteria from those who served within the Sisters of Silence or the Colexus clade, and cybernetically augmented to allow for human-machine interface. Although in his testimony, Prefect Kellner Anahat would not be drawn out on his or his comrades' recruitment or training, he did state that of the psychers bound within the Warlord Sinister, that, for some, it was a punishment for their crimes, and others a blessed relief from their torments, and that a balance was maintained in order that optimum conditions were met. He would also not be drawn out on the rate at which the bound psychers were exhausted by the process. Through the use of the Siracrux Anima, a Warlord Sinister is able to project psychic phenomena on a truly gargantuan scale, although without any of the nuance or fine manipulation available to an individual trained psyker. These phenomena include waves of preternatural fear, psychokinetic effects, biomantic leeching of life in the immediate area, and even the temporal distortion-based reversion of damage to the Titan itself. Roused to anger, a Warlord Sinister is a terrible beast, able to project psychic phenomena on a truly gargantuan scale through its Siracrux Anima. Despite this, the most devastating power a Warlord Sinister can draw upon rests in its left arm. Known as the Sinistramanus Tenebrae in High Gothic, literally translated as the left hand of darkness, each Warlord Sinister possesses such a weapon. This is a hybrid of strange technologies, more akin to a mutilated warp drive in design than a conventional armament, but it serves to use the psychic potential of the Siracrux Anima by focusing the psychic antipathy of the Titan's bound psychers into a fracture in reality, a rift much like the forced warp breach inherent in vortex weapons, which is then channeled and released as a projectile of nightmarishly destructive psychic force, where the projectile, which manifests as a sphere or bolt of darkness as it eats the light of whatever medium it passes through before striking dense matter, detonates. It causes complete annihilation in the immediate impact area. What was there is disassembled and hurled bodily into the Empyrean molecule by molecule until the mercifully brief warp rupture self-seals. Those in the wider area of the impact are simply struck dead, their bodies left unmarked as if their souls had been sheared from their bodies. While Vortex Missile Ordnance is both more powerful in its blast and limited in range only by its function, the Sinistramanus Tenebrae Psi Cannon has the advantage that it may be fired repeatedly, at least while the psychic strength of those on board the Psi-Titan lasts to power it. The Warlord Sinister Psi-Titan possesses a number of unique psychic powers known to no other Titan pattern, including the following. Shroud of Terror. Such is the psychically amplified shroud of soul-deep terror that hangs about a Psi-Titan that even the strongest-willed soldiers will break and flee in panic if close to the war machine. The very air of the cities in which they tread becomes haunted by the nameless dread of their presence. Necrotechica. Ghostly light courses across the Psi-Titan's hull, reknitting shattered armor and broken machinery. Meanwhile, the discordant screams of those psychers trapped within the Titan echo in the minds of all nearby, for the price is that those damned within have years bled from their own lives to shore up the bars of their prison. Death Pulse. A seething pulse of psychic energy that represents the hatred and murderous torment of the psychers trapped within, is unleashed from the Titan that assails the very soul of anything it touches, causing great damage. Quickening, etheric conduits in the Titan's limbs glow with power, driving the god engine forwards at an unnatural pace. Antipathic Tempest. The Titan's head is crowned with a halo of unhallowed lightning and hurricane force winds that, when unleashed, scatter man and machine alike with ease. While the Warlord Sinister appears to be a singular creation in form and function, the concept of the Psi-Titan, however, is not an entirely unknown one, at least in the annals of the Great Crusade's foes, and even the more obscure reaches of the ancient Mechanicum's own Titan lore. In the depths of pre-Unification Wars history, there are numerous occluded references of what might be described as Psi-Titans. In this case, Titan engines designed to be piloted by and amplify the powers of a single psyker as experiments and unique relic engines of war. Though now long suppressed by the tech orthodoxy of the Adeptus Mechanicus of Mars, what became of the machines themselves or the subcults of the Omnissiah who created and piloted them remains unknown. Among the psychically potent Xeno species with which humanity has warred, Psi-construct war engines were known to be possessed by both the Eldari and the Thrall, and more tenuously by the now exterminated Vaxalrek, some of which easily matched the Titans of the Imperium in scale if not always in form. Deep within the labyrinthine vaults of Terra, the Ordo Sinister's presence looms like a dark shadow, its very existence a closely guarded secret known only to the highest echelons of Imperial authority. Beyond their recorded battles, whispers persist of clandestine operations conducted far from prying eyes, missions so sensitive that even the most trusted Imperial commanders remain oblivious to their occurrence. Rumors circulate among the ranks of the Collegia Titanica of a forbidden lexicon known as the Codex Umbrare, which details the arcane rituals and techno-sorcerous rites employed in the creation and maintenance of the Ordo Sinister's dreaded Psi-Titans. This tome, if it indeed exists, is said to be sealed within a stasis vault, accessible only to a select few individuals personally chosen by the Emperor himself. The process of selecting and training the Ordo Sinister's preceptor intendants remains shrouded in mystery. Unsubstantiated reports suggest the existence of a hidden facility on Luna, where potential candidates undergo grueling trials designed to test not only their psychic null abilities, but also their mental fortitude and loyalty to the Emperor. Those who emerge from this crucible are forever changed, their minds honed into weapons as formidable as the Titans they command. The selection and preparation of bound psychers for the Psi-Titans involve intricate processes rarely discussed openly. Whispered accounts speak of a galaxy-wide search for individuals possessing unique psychic signatures deemed compatible with the Siracrux anima. These unfortunate souls are said to undergo a series of invasive procedures, their very essence reshaped to serve as living conduits for the Titan's otherworldly powers. The Ordo Sinister's influence extends far beyond the battlefield, with tendrils reaching into various Imperial institutions. Unconfirmed reports suggest the existence of a cadre of agents embedded within the Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Astra Telepathica, and even the Inquisition itself. These operatives work tirelessly to safeguard the Ordo's secrets and ensure a steady supply of resources and personnel. The psychological impact of the Ordo Sinister's Psi-Titans on their own support staff and allied forces is a topic of hushed discussion among Imperial scholars. Prolonged exposure to these dread machines is said to leave indelible marks on the psyche, manifesting in nightmares, waking visions, and a pervasive sense of unease that lingers long after the Titans have departed. Some speculate that this effect is not merely a byproduct, but a deliberate feature designed to ensure the absolute secrecy of the Ordo's operations. The Ordo Sinister's arsenal extends beyond the fearsome Sinistramanus Tenebrae. Unverified accounts speak of devices capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality, bending space and time to the will of the Titan's crew. One such weapon, known only as the Chronos Fissure, is said to trap its targets in temporal loops, subjecting them to an eternity of torment in the span of a heartbeat. The Ordo Sinister's role in shaping imperial policy remains a subject of intense speculation. Some believe that the mere threat of their deployment serves as a powerful deterrent, influencing the decisions of planetary governors and sector lords who fear the consequences of crossing the Emperor's will. Others whisper of more direct interventions, with Psi-Titans serving as the ultimate enforcers of imperial decrees, too sensitive or controversial for public knowledge. The relationship between the Ordo Sinister and the Grey Knights chapter of Space Marines is a topic of particular interest to those few aware of both organizations' existence. While officially separate entities, some theorize that there exists a degree of collaboration between these two secretive imperial bodies. Unsubstantiated reports suggest joint operations against particularly potent demonic incursions, with the Psi-Titans providing unprecedented levels of psychic firepower to support the Grey Knights' elite warriors. The maintenance and repair of the Ordo Sinister's unique war machines present challenges unlike those faced by any other Titan Legion. Specialized tech priests, sworn to absolute secrecy and extensively mind-scrubbed to prevent knowledge leakage, are said to tend to these arcane engines of war. These individuals reportedly undergo regular psychic screening to ensure their continued loyalty and mental stability, with even the slightest hint of corruption resulting in immediate termination. The process of activating a Psi-Titan for combat is said to be a harrowing experience for all involved. Eyewitness accounts, though rare and often dismissed as fanciful, describe a ritual that borders on the blasphemous. The bound psychers, already in a state of constant agony, are said to emit soul-rending screams as their powers are fully awakened. Meanwhile, the preceptor-intendant enters a trance-like state, their consciousness merging with the machine's spirit in a union that defies conventional understanding of man and machine. The Ordo Sinister's influence on the development of imperial technology is a matter of hushed debate among the highest ranks of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Some argue that the existence of the Psi-Titans has pushed the boundaries of what is possible in the realm of psycho-reactive materials and warp interfacing systems. Others fear that the Ordo's work treads dangerously close to tech heresy, risking the very foundations of the cult Mechanicus's doctrines. The fate of those who have witnessed the Ordo Sinister in action but are not privy to its secrets is often grim. Reports suggest the existence of specialized memory eater squads, tasked with tracking down and neutralizing individuals who have seen too much. These operatives are said to employ a combination of psychoactive drugs, hypnoconditioning, and in extreme cases, selective mind-wiping to ensure the Ordo's continued secrecy. Planets that have felt the tread of a Psi-Titan are said to never truly recover, with generations of inhabitants suffering from inexplicable nightmares and a pervasive sense of dread. Some worlds are rumored to have been rendered permanently uninhabitable, their very essence tainted by the psychic aftershocks of the Ordo's terrible weapons. The training of new Ordo Sinister personnel is a process shrouded in secrecy and danger. Unconfirmed reports speak of a facility deep within the Himalaysian mountains, where prospective recruits are subjected to simulated Psi-Titan operations using arcane devices that tap into the warp. The attrition rate is said to be staggering, with many candidates driven to madness or death by the experience. Those who survive emerge forever changed, their minds honed into weapons as formidable as the Titans they will one day command. Legends speak of a secretive group within the Ordo Sinister known as the Umbra Conclave. This inner circle, composed of the most experienced preceptor-intendants, is said to possess an unprecedented level of control over their Psi-Titans. Rumors suggest they can achieve a state of perfect synchronization with their war machines, blurring the lines between man and machine to such an extent that it becomes difficult to determine where one ends and the other begins. The Ordo Sinister's influence extends beyond Terra, with whispers of hidden outposts scattered across the galaxy. These clandestine bases, known as Nexus Points, serve as staging grounds for covert operations and house specialized facilities for the maintenance and repair of Psi-Titans. The locations of these Nexus Points are said to be constantly shifting, making them nearly impossible to track or infiltrate. A controversial theory among certain Imperial scholars posits that the Ordo Sinister's Psi-Titans serve as more than just weapons of war. Some speculate that these colossal machines act as psychic beacons, subtly influencing the thoughts and emotions of entire populations across vast distances. This Psi-network theory suggests that the Ordo plays a crucial role in maintaining the Emperor's psychic dominion over the Imperium. The recruitment of psychers for the Ordo Sinister's Psi-Titans involves a process shrouded in secrecy and ethical ambiguity. Whispered accounts tell of specialized harvester teams that scour the galaxy for individuals with unique psychic signatures. These teams reportedly employ a combination of advanced technology and esoteric rituals to identify potential candidates, often resorting to morally questionable methods to secure their quarry. Within the ranks of the Ordo Sinister exists a mysterious order known as the Cipher Adepts. These individuals possess an uncanny ability to decipher and manipulate the complex psychic matrices that govern the operation of Psi-Titans. Their skills are said to be so refined that they can reprogram a Titan's psychic architecture on the fly, adapting it to counter new threats or exploit unforeseen opportunities on the battlefield. The Ordo Sinister's influence on Imperial culture, while subtle, is profound. Across countless worlds, myths and legends have sprung up around the rare sightings of these dread machines. On some planets, the Psi-Titans have been elevated to the status of divine beings, with secretive cults worshipping them as avatars of the Emperor's will. The Ordo carefully monitors and, in some cases, covertly encourages these beliefs, using them as a tool for control and manipulation. Unverified reports speak of a specialized division within the Ordo Sinister dedicated to the study and exploitation of Xenos psychic technology. This group, known only as Project Chimera, is said to incorporate elements of Eldar, Necron, and even Tyranid biotechnology into their designs. The fruits of their labor are rumored to be a new generation of hybrid war machines that blur the lines between Imperial, Xenos, and warp-based technologies. The Ordo Sinister's command structure is unlike any other in the Imperium. At its apex sits the enigmatic Magister Umbra, a figure whose true identity remains unknown even to most members of the Ordo itself. This individual is said to communicate solely through psychic projections and encoded transmissions, their physical form hidden away in a secret location known only to the Emperor himself. The process of constructing a Psi-Titan is a monumental undertaking that goes far beyond mere engineering. Each machine is said to be imbued with a fragment of the Emperor's own psychic essence, a process that requires the sacrifice of thousands of psychers and the performance of rituals so arcane that they predate the Imperium itself. This infusion of divine energy is what allows the Psi-Titans to channel such immense psychic power without succumbing to the corrupting influence of the warp. Within the Ordo Sinister's arsenal exists a class of weapons so terrible that their use is sanctioned only under the direst circumstances. Known as reality fracture engines, these devices are capable of tearing holes in the fabric of space-time itself. The devastation wrought by these weapons is said to be so complete that it leaves permanent scars in reality, rendering affected areas uninhabitable for millennia. The Ordo Sinister maintains a core of specialized Psi-cartographers who map the ever-shifting tides of the warp. These individuals, often driven to the brink of madness by their work, create intricate, multidimensional charts that allow Psi-Titans to navigate through reality and the immaterium with unparalleled precision. Their efforts are crucial in planning strategic deployments and avoiding warp anomalies that could prove catastrophic even to these mighty war machines. Rumors persist of a failed experiment conducted by the Ordo Sinister known as the Omega Protocol. This ill-fated project allegedly aimed to create a Psi-Titan capable of tapping directly into the psychic energy of the Emperor himself. The catastrophic results of this attempt are said to have resulted in the complete annihilation of an entire subsector, with the area now existing as a permanent warp rift that defies all attempts at containment or study. The Ordo Sinister's influence extends into the realm of imperial politics in ways few suspect. It is whispered that certain high-ranking members of the Adeptus Terra possess psychic imprints left by the Ordo, subtle manipulations that guide their decisions in alignment with the organization's inscrutable goals. This shadow governance ensures that the Ordo's interests are protected at the highest levels of imperial bureaucracy. Among the Ordo Sinister's most closely guarded secrets is the existence of null Titans. These inverse counterparts to the Psi-Titans are piloted by the most powerful psychic blanks in the Imperium. Instead of channeling warp energies, these machines create vast fields of psychic nullification, capable of neutralizing even the most potent psychic threats. The deployment of a null Titan is said to be a sight of terrible beauty, as reality itself seems to crystallize in their wake. The Ordo Sinister employs a cadre of specialized tech priests known as the Harmonics Magi. These individuals possess the unique ability to fine-tune the psychic resonance of Psi-Titans, ensuring optimal synchronization between the machine, its crew, and the bound psychers within. Their work is crucial in preventing catastrophic psychic feedback loops that could result in the total destruction of both the Titan and everything in its vicinity. Whispers circulate of an Ordo Sinister facility hidden in the depths of the warp itself. This impossible fortress, known as the Nexus Umbra, is said to exist in a pocket of stable reality amidst the chaotic tides of the Immaterium. Here, the most dangerous and revolutionary experiments are conducted, far from the prying eyes of even the Inquisition. The secrets locked away in this transdimensional vault could revolutionize or destroy the Imperium's understanding of psychic warfare.